Hi there. In this video, we'll talk about how to use TAM in order to complete pre and post visits using the instruction and classroom environment visit tools, as well as how to complete the tiered fidelity inventories that we have available. At the time of this video, we have the elementary reading tiered fidelity inventory available. So let's take a look at how this is all connected inside of TAM. So the first thing we have to do is to complete a comprehensive plan. So we'll come in and we're going to create a comprehensive plan. We have covered this in previous videos, but we need to have a plan created in order to do any of our pre and post visits, whether it be instruction and or classroom environment, and to complete any of the tiered fidelity inventories. So up here is where we load an existing plan, but we're going to be creating one from scratch. This is just an example. Remember that we'll get a case ID after we submit the plan. This is just simple. In order to submit your plan, you only have to add in those comprehensive basic details. So the LEA, the school, and the plan status. And once you do that, you'll be able to save your comprehensive plan. This is a great way to essentially get templates ready before you complete them with LEA and school teams. So that's all mentioned in the directions above, but just bringing you through that process. What we want to do now is submit this plan. You'll see that TAM Dev says we are completing a plan here. So just a little bit of a message letting us know that the submission is going to happen. It's TAM Dev right now because this is the dev test demo version of our URL. You'll be accessing this tool like you normally would, tam.pattan.net. So we'll click OK. The page will reset. We have to do one more refresh in order to get that new data if we want to look at it. And here it is. We can click Planning, and then we load that comprehensive ID that was created for us. We load that plan. Tells us that the plan number 19 is going to be loaded. And there we go. So at this point, we have a template built out that we could continue to edit over time. Anytime you come in, you can load and then submit that edit at any time. Keep editing and editing as much as you need. You don't have to just submit once. This is mentioned in the directions above, but just so you know. And the most important thing now is that we can start doing some of those pre and post visits, as well as our tiered fidelity inventories. Those inside of the system can't be completed until a comprehensive plan exists. It doesn't have to be complete, just has to have the basic details, so you can create the template, but the system will not let you do any of those visit forms or assessments if you have not completed a plan first and created one. It can be not completed, but it has to be created. So underneath comprehensive supports, we have our pre and post site review tools. Let's check out the classroom environment. So in classroom environment, we are able to essentially activate an assessment for an existing plan. So what we're going to do here, whether it's new or whether it's an existing one, we're going to activate a pre-post review for a particular plan. Keeping in mind that those plans are made for each school. So we've got our 21st century cyber in this example. We're going to, when you see here last, select classroom, we are going to be completing these tools at the classroom level, right? So each time we complete a classroom environment or instruction pre-post visit, it happens at a classroom level here. And you'll notice that no classrooms appear. That's because we haven't done one yet for 21st century cyber. These classrooms inside of the system get a unique ID, and that ID consists of a school ID that's assigned to it inside of TAM, the grade level, the classroom number, and the teacher name all together in one code. And we'll see what that looks like in a moment once we create one and load it back again. But since I haven't created one for this school yet, we click on New Classroom from the dropdown and Activate Record. So once I've done this, that means that I'll have activated a record, a brand new pre-post visit here for 21st Century Cyber, and this will be our first classroom we've done it for them in this case. So let's click activate. It says that a site review by, and it gives your email address, so you know. So by M. Flanagan, that's me, has been initiated for a new classroom within 21st Century Cyber. You may now begin completing the site review. As a reminder, there may be an existing site review for this school that was completed by another user. So this is an important point here, that you're only able to complete, edit, and see the pre and post reviews that you personally in your account have created and edited. This is to ensure that we have strong interrelated reliability, or to support it, and to make sure we have no mixing and bias between our reporting. So just really supporting that process of inter-rater reliability. So for that reason, you're only able to see and edit the pre-post reviews that you personally have done as a rater, as part of that team. So let's click OK. You'll see that the activated record details have updated. So we have the status. It'll tell us whether it's activated or not. If you see that it's not activated, there's an error, and reactivate it using that button. Your school name, all your basic details, the case ID, it's a new classroom, and then who's doing it, it's your email address. So it pulls all of that information based upon what you're logged in as. And now we're going to complete this pre-review here as our example. So let's do that. We've got 11th grade, so each classroom that you have for that grade, maybe there's multiple 11th grade classrooms, right? That could be. So what you do is, this is our first classroom in the 11th grade for 21st Century Cyber that we're going to be doing this pre-review for in this example, and then we're going to put the teacher's name. All of this information is required in order to complete the pre-post review. So it doesn't matter if you do upper or lowercase, it will be dealt with in the back end, so you don't have to worry about that. But what you can't do is don't do any nicknames, don't do any titles, give the full first and last name of that teacher. This is going to allow the system to create the classroom ID that'll identify this particular pre-post review ongoing. So your account can access it, so we can view it and access it in our back end through directors. The directors can access it, so our teams can access it and find and uniquely identify each of these pre-post reviews as we need to. So I've got my 11th grade classroom, classroom number 1, and Jim Jones here as my example. So any other ones that I did for 11th grade, I would have 11th grade, classroom number 2, and then Mary Smith, whatever their name is, classroom 3, the next teacher's name, however many 11th grade ones. What we wouldn't do is 11th grade classroom 1 and then 10th grade classroom 2. It's the classroom for that particular grade. So we're not using like classroom numbers from the schools. We're just doing like the number of classrooms that we had done a pre-post for. All right, so let's come down here. You'll notice that you've got your pre and your post all in the same form here. We're just going to do our pre. Let's say that we saw some real great stuff here. You can put your additional comments in. This is for the pre and the post. If you are doing a post as well, one comment box here, you type in your information for pre and post in that comment box. So we've got those domains there. We won't cover those, but you go all the way down that first column and complete those selects, and then click Submit Pre-Post Site Review. Your site review will now be submitted. The page is going to reload, just letting you know what's about to happen. And there we go. Just save to the database. Now we refresh the page once more so we can see that data. Here we go. And you'll see from the dropdown, number 1 represents 21st Century Cyber. That's the unique ID that it has inside of the system. 11th, it's 11th grade. 1, again, is the number of classrooms that this represents for 11th grade. So this is the first classroom that we had done a pre-post for, and then the teacher was Jim Jones. So we can select that classroom and activate the record. It tells you that's who I'm activating a record for. You'll see the activated record details have updated here, and we see that information that we just put in before. We can then, let's say, just for this example, we went in and we did our post. We can click through those and then click submit. Refresh the page one more time. Load it. And you'll see those post-visit scores are there as well. And we could have had any additional comments edited as well and added there. So now we are at the final, at this time, data collection tool that's available inside of TAM for us as part of our comprehensive supports. And this one is the reading tiered fidelity inventory for elementary level. So the logic on this page works a little bit different than the classroom environment and instruction pre-post visits, in that you don't have to do any activation in order to submit one. So what you'll do is this area up here, and this is in the directions as well, but if you have already created one and you want to load it and look at it and maybe edit it, especially the action plan associated with the RTFI elementary, which is on this page, and we'll talk about it. So this up here, activate existing RTFI data and associated plan, is only if you've already created one. If you haven't created one yet, you're going to be instead just coming right down into required school information, and you're going to start creating one. So up here, a little bit different than the other pages. This is just for if you've already made one and you want to come back and look at it or edit it and save it again with its new data. So this is completed at the school level. And what we're going to do is select our LEA, which populates our schools. And now we're going to select the comprehensive case ID. So like before, you still have to have a comprehensive case ID. So you're going to be, by adding this required school information, you're going to be aligning it to a comprehensive case that already exists. Number 19, 21st Century Cyber, is the one that we also just created our pre-post visits for instruction and classroom environment. Everything has to be connected to the comprehensive case ID. The system will not let you do any of these data collection procedures without having that plan created. So we wouldn't click submit, we're going to create it first. So you can either write in the number between 0 and 2 or use the arrows in order to do it. We've got all of the universal tier and all the advanced tier. You don't have to complete every item in order to submit. You don't have to complete any in particular. It won't block you. So we can open and collapse each of these. And then the final part here is the plan to address the universal and advanced tier components. So when you click on this header here, it'll open up an action plan tool. So this directly models the work that PaTTAN has done to create this action planning tool. We've just put it into this platform to be able to collect that data, to have insights, and to make this process generally easier for everyone. So what we have here is that it's going to show you one item at a time. So this way you don't have to look through a big document. You use the selects here in order to select a universal or an advanced component. So they're both none selected by default. We're going to click on 1.1 here. So let's say I want to do an action plan here for item 1.1, school leadership, supporting the implementation of Tier 1 reading components in MTSS. So I have status. You'll see, first of all, that the item here on the RTFI is displayed. That's under action, the status. So what are we doing about it here? We are not started yet. We're just planning. Here's our action steps. Here's who's going to do it and by when. And we also have specialized links related to practices and supports and information for each of these RTFI items. So if we click that link, it'll open up a new browser tab. And this will bring us to Lead for Literacy, and it's already linking to pages directly relevant to each of the items in the action plan. in the RTFI. So for any information and support and documents, you can always click, and you'll see that these resource links, there may be more than one at some time. As you select the fidelity component, it will change out those links accordingly. So you don't have to worry about saving. It's automatically saving everything right here. So we can go and click none, and let's go click another one. So now we're going to do one of our universal. Not started, test, who is going to do it, and the day. You'll see that we've got a different resource here that's been linked. Like I said, those resources will change according to the item that is having an action. So at this point, I want to save what I've done here. But what I can also do is export a spreadsheet of the information I've put into the action plan right now. So I don't need to submit all of the information on this page in order to export. I can actually do it ahead of time. So if I click the export button, it's going to give me a .csv file, a spreadsheet, with any of the information I just put in here. So 2.1, and it's going to show me my 1.1 information in a spreadsheet. And I don't have to save my changes before exporting. So let me click export right here. You'll see that in my browser, and I will pull that over to the screen so you can see it too. And what happened is that it did an export of the data I just put in. Created it for me. So you'll see that it's kind of in long form, and the reason for that is that on the RTFI, each of those items, there are 43, there are a couple different variables related to them. So the status, the action steps, the responsible parties, and the due date, and a spreadsheet in a more wider form where each one of those was a column for the items would be hundreds, literally hundreds of columns. So we don't want that. It'll make it easier for us to have it this way. So you've got your spreadsheet. It says the LEA. These are all going to be duplicate. Your school name, the comprehensive case ID. In the item, it tells you which of the RTFI items that this data is for. And then we see that plan, not started, the test, and the day, and for 2.1 as well. So it'll do that export as many times as you want for you right in your browser. But we definitely want to save all this information. So when I click Submit RTFI, it's going to submit all of the item scores, and it's going to submit anything I did to the action plan, universal and advanced. So let's submit it. And there we go. Let's refresh the page to get that data back. And now when we search, you'll see that it's appearing up in the Activate Existing. Each of these assessments is assigned a unique identifier. You don't have to worry about that number per se at all. It's just a way for us to identify all of these as you go through. It's the way that the system does it. So less about the number, and generally for how many you'd be completing, you can also look at the date right here. That's probably more what you're going to be using. So we have the day and the time and military time there available to you, so you can figure out which assessment instead of just loading a bunch of them. This makes it so we don't have to name each time we did the RTFI. It gets an ID. The system handles that, and you can look at the ID if you remember. But you can also look at the date. So if you just completed one yesterday and you know what time it was, generally speaking, you can find it and activate it. You'll see that the required school information has been populated. I'm going to leave that alone. You'll see that all of my item scores are here. And if we come down, you'll see that all of my universal action plan information is here and my advanced. So at this point, I can do another. I can edit any of the item scores and save it, and I can keep doing that and coming back and editing as I need to. So let's do another goal here. Test 2. Test 2, and here we go. And we're going to submit that plan. Let's reload the page in order to get access to that new data. You'll see that it's loaded. We only edited the action plan, so we can come down. And you'll see here for 2.2. So we completed one for 1.2. And that new information, test 2, and the day are all available to us. We could edit it once again. We can come up here and edit any of our scores if we needed to, if we hadn't completed it in one setting, perhaps. Whatever we need to do, we can continually edit these. And the nice part about this one is that any of your team members can see any of these RTFIs created and edited. So only the pre-post visits are locked down to the user who created them. These, you can create it, another team member can come in and work on it as well and sign into the system. And it's the same thing for the comprehensive plans. So if we go back to our comprehensive support plans, anything created in here by one team member can be accessed and edited and viewed by another team member. So flexibility and collaboration for the comprehensive support plan and for the tiered fidelity inventories. But for the pre-post site review for classroom environment and instruction, those are locked down and specific to your account. So whoever created them is the one who can see them and edit them, load them over time, edit them again if they need to, all of that. We have separate ways that'll be forthcoming for anyone to see the results of those. But for the sake of this video, we're just learning how to get data in. And just know that even if you're not the one who created the assessment, there will be ways, we'll show you in an upcoming video on how to view the results for a particular school, for a particular classroom, even if you weren't the one who completed that pre-post visit. So that concludes this video. Thank you so much.